You've probably been asked at some point in your life what your 5-year plan was. A lot of people feel a lot of stress and anxiety around setting those long-term goals, but they are just as important as setting the shorter-term goals. You'll see videos online about daily goals, weekly goals, monthly goals, and the list goes on. So then the question becomes, well, which ones do I really focus on? If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Tyler Warlow and I go by The Mengineer. I make videos on how to improve your life through your confidence, capabilities, and overall happiness. In today's video, I figured that I would talk about the different types of goal timelines, working our way from the largest down to the smallest. And I'd be discussing the different benefits of each kind, as well as the amount of focus and prioritization that you should give to each one. If that sounds like an interesting topic to you, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel to join me along in this self-improvement journey. Starting off, we're going to cover our long-term goals. Some of the most common ones that you'll typically see people ask about are your 10-year or 5-year plan. Now, I know that a goal set for that long of a timeline away can be a little scary to think about. I mean, hell, I was a different person 5 years ago, but it's still equally important to have some idea of where you would like to be 5 to 10 years from now. You want this goal to really be a track for you to follow. It's supposed to be something to help you aim big and shoot for the things that you really want out of life. What I recommend doing in terms of these really long-term goals is sitting down with a sheet of paper and answering a few of the following questions. These are going to be some pretty broad questions, so bear with me. First off, you want to answer the question of what is your definition of success? There's no point in setting goals towards something if it isn't really towards what you view as success. Otherwise, you're working towards something that ultimately isn't really going to make you happy. What do you want to be remembered for? This is really important because it's going to help direct your actions moving forward. If you want to be remembered as a kind and caring person, then the type of goals that you should set are very different than the type of person if you want to be remembered for the contributions that you gave to science or something like that. These are going to be very different paths and very different actions that someone would have to choose to take. So think about the type of person that you want to be remembered as. Next up, what do you value the most in life? You want to identify the things that you value so you can always direct yourself back towards it. In the daily hecticness of life, we have a tendency to get caught up in the daily stress and forget about what it is that we truly value. We sometimes set goals that don't really align with the values that we have. For instance, let's say that your values are family time, but you decide to set some sort of goal to be management by the end of the year. This starts making you work 60 to 80-hour weeks, but this really doesn't align with your values of being a good family man. As a result, your goals are conflicting with what truly makes you you. And again, that's ultimately going to lead to something that makes you unhappy. With these questions answered, you then want to think about, okay, where do I see myself and my life 5 to 10 years from now? I know that this can be a hard thing to imagine and picture, but try to be as specific as possible. Do you picture yourself traveling? Do you see yourself with a home, a family, kids? Or do you see yourself being a doctor and helping people out? Try to be as specific as you can with the position that you see yourself in within 5 years. Once you see that, make sure that you write it down. Again, a big thing to remember with these long-term goals is you're still trying to make them a SMART goal, or something that is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. I have a video on that right here if you'd like to check that out for a little bit better of an explanation. These long-term goals are meant to be more of a guidance. You're not going to develop a specific plan towards this large scope goal. If you tried to do that, you would be so lost because you don't know what the next day, month, or even year is going to look like. So you can't make a detailed plan on how to approach the next 5 years. What those long-term goals are supposed to be are more of a guidance for those short-term goals. For instance, one of my long-term goals is that when I am a father, I never want to miss an event that my kids are a part of, whether that's a baseball game, a play, or some sort of arts event. I want to make sure that I'm there. Obviously, I can't develop a specific plan to make sure that happens because that's so far away. However, it acts as a guiding force for my other goals. Again, I know that this can be a kind of scary thing to think about, and it's a little uncomfortable for some people because they can't picture well, and it's a little uncomfortable for a lot of people because they can't picture themselves in 5 years. But I promise if you take some time to sit down for 30 minutes to a year, you'll kind of get an idea of where you might want to see yourself, and that's going to help you immensely when it comes to setting these next types of goals. Next up, we've got another long-term goal, but it's going to be where you can start getting a little bit more specific. And this is going to be the 3-year plan. This is where you're gonna wanna start getting a little bit more specific with your goals. For instance, how much money do you want to be making by this time? Or how much money do you want to have saved up in the bank? Do you want to make a down payment on a house? Or do you want to buy a car? You want to get specific and measurable goals. This can also be something in your career like getting a promotion, but also you want to make sure that these are goals that you yourself have control of. Remember, if you're setting goals that you don't have control of and you ultimately don't achieve them, like with the case of a promotion, then you're ultimately just setting yourself up for disappointment and not setting goals anymore because you don't think it's worth it. So make sure that you are actually setting goals that are things that you yourself can control. Touching back on the promotion example, maybe you can change the goal from promotion to making sure that you're meeting a certain throughput or sales target. That way you know that you are doing your job to the best of your ability, and the promotion doesn't matter so much. But either way, this is still a longer term goal. So you're gonna wanna picture yourself 3 years from now. You wanna develop some specific numbers or actions that you are hoping to achieve. Less of that broad scope and getting a little bit more into where you wanna be. You want to get a little bit reaching with this, something that you think might be a little bit of a stretch, but you could still realistically attain it. Next up are your yearly goals. This is going to be where you start taking your 3-year goal and breaking it down into a plan. This is going to be specific goals that are meant to break down the overarching goal of your 3-year plan into attainable steps to keep you focused and moving towards those 3-year goals. Basically, you're gonna wanna take your 3-year goal and break it up into 3 chunks. You could do this into 3 equal parts. You could start off small and ramp it up as you gain experience. But either way, you want to do some sort of breakdown between the 3 years. This is going to help give you an idea of where you want to be at the end of each year, and it's going to help keep you moving forward. By having these goals focused on moving you towards the longer term goal, you're only increasing your odds of success. Think about the number of people who set New Year's resolutions, goals that they set every year but always fail to achieve. And it's because it's not aiming towards a longer term goal. Part of the reason that I got into working out and wanting to take care of my body is because I wanted to make sure that I could be around for my kids when I'm older. That was my long-term goal, that I wanted to live a long and healthy life so I could be there for my kids. So when it came to my 1-year goals, it was gradually increasing my levels of fitness until I was considered to be at a high level of fitness. But what about y'all? Do you guys have any sort of yearly goals that you like to do? Or maybe you've accomplished some of your New Year's resolutions this year? If so, let me know with a comment down below. I like to hear from each and every one of you. But next up is, it's less of a goal and more of a review. What I recommend doing is doing some sort of quarterly review towards your annual goals. Now, for some people, this might be too much. It might be better for you to do like a half-year review rather than overwhelming yourself with the number of things that you need to do. Keep in mind with all of these goals that these should be flexible and malleable as things change. And this is kind of what the point of these quarterly reviews are gonna be. At the end of every 3 months for the year, you wanna take a look at the progress that you've made towards your goal. We are not focusing on the big goals right now. We are focusing on the yearly goal and the progress that you've made towards it. You're gonna wanna ask yourself the following questions. What have I done well? What have I done poorly? Or what went poorly? And what am I going to do to improve? Asking yourself these 3 questions are gonna help you to identify what your strengths and weaknesses have been moving towards this yearly goal. And it's also gonna help you to figure out ways that you can move forward and break past those weaknesses or obstacles. You're gonna wanna be honest with yourself this year, and some people find it to be helpful to have that conversation with other people. Asking them the honest questions of, hey, do you think I'm being honest here? And I need you to be honest with me. Sometimes getting that critical feedback from someone else that you trust can be a little bit more accurate than if you're trusting yourself, especially if you don't have a lot of experience looking at yourself and being critical. But next up, we've got the weekly goals. At the beginning of each week, you're gonna wanna set yourself a to-do list. This to-do list is gonna comprise things like issues that you had from last week, or things that you would like to make sure are done moving into the next week. The reason that I say that you want to develop this list at the beginning of this week is because it's going to give you something to focus on throughout the week. Things might pop up throughout the week, but what you want to do is create a running issues tracker rather than constantly switching gears and trying to address those things, unless it's truly an emergency. If you keep switching from the original plan that you had at the beginning of the week, you're not really going to have any focus, and you're constantly going to be doing tasks in different areas. And when you do tasks that are focused on all these different things rather than on one singular point, you make a little bit of progress in a lot of directions, but you don't make any real significant progress towards your overall goal. To make real overall progress, you need to make some focused effort and decisions in one thing. So make your to-do list at the beginning of the week and focus on getting those resolved. A lot of times you're not going to get 100% of those issues resolved, and that's okay. You should be aiming to get somewhere around 75 or 80% of those resolved. That's gonna help you make significant forward progress towards your goals. Now, for a lot of people, this is going to be enough. This is a pretty good breakdown that's gonna help people move towards those long-term goals that I talked about at the beginning of the video. But for some people who really like to have more structure and guidance, you can even break down every day to have a big 3. The big 3 is taking a look at your weekly issues list. And from that weekly issues list, you're gonna pick your top 3 priorities that you wanna get done for the day. Those 3 priorities should be your main focus through the day. I use this method a lot when I was in college. When I was having to keep track of a lot of different deadlines and timelines, I would basically keep track of all that in my weekly task list, but each day I would go through that task list, and depending on the deadlines and the priorities that I had assigned to each to-do item, I would determine which 3 that I would focus on for the day. I found that if I tried to focus on too many different assignments in one day, it was like I said earlier, I kind of got really scattered and I didn't make any real significant progress on any of them. By having a big 3, it allows you to focus on and learn and make some progress on those 3 items. Again, this is more for if you really are managing a lot of different things and you need to be able to focus your energy on some things, and it can get a little bit granular for most people, but it is a path that you can take. But that's gonna bring us to the end of the video, everyone. If you found the information in this video to be helpful or informative at all, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel to join me along in this self-improvement journey. If you have any of your own thoughts, ideas, or opinions, please be sure to let me know with a comment down below. If you'd like to see more videos like this one where I talk about goal-related topics, be sure to check out this video right here where I talk about the most common reasons your goals fail. If you're more interested in my most recent videos, be sure to check those out right here. But until the next time, this is the Mengineer, signing off.